Welcome back to another project. In this project, we're going to create an English dictionary. As you can see from the final version of the project, we have a container here with an input. And when we write down a word, for example, I just write down job and I press enter, you see we had a loading effect. Then the name, the word title and the meaning of it is shown inside this container. And also we have the pronunciation and the audio of the word here. So when we click on this one,
job,
we can hear the real pronunciation of the word. So we're going to learn how to work with an API that is going to give us the meaning and the pronunciation of the words. And also we're going to firstly style this project using CSS, and later using JavaScript, we're going to learn how to retrieve the data from the API, how to add the loading effect, and also if you're, for example, if an error happens, how to handle the errors. For example, if there is no internet, we see a message here, an error here. So we're going to learn how to handle the errors as well. In the next section, we're going to start with the HTML part of the project. So see you in the next section. All right, let's start our project. I have put the final version here as our reference so we can compare it with our own project that we are building now. The first thing we need to do is to create an HTML file. So we need to open the Visual Studio Code or any text editor you would like to use. So I click on Visual Studio Code. Here I close the Get Started tab, and in the file menu, we need to click on Open Folder. We need to create a folder and start working on the project. I would like to create the project in my desktop, so I click on Desktop, and here I click on the new folder to create a new folder. And I call it English Dictionary or Dictionary. After writing down the name of the folder, we press enter and we click here on the select folder to select the folder. This is going to open the folder inside the Visual Studio Code. And here in the Explorer section, now we see that the folder is open, English Dictionary, and we can start creating our files inside this folder. So we can click on here in this icon to create a new file, and we call it index.html. Now we have the file on the right side, but it is completely empty. But we can use an exclamation mark to create an HTML boilerplate. So when you write down an exclamation mark, you get an auto suggestion from Emmet. So when we click on it or you press enter, you get an HTML boilerplate, which includes the doc type, which is the version of the HTML we are working on. And for the HTML5, we just need to have HTML here. Then we have the HTML tag, which is covering both of the head and the body tag. Here, the lang attribute defines the language of the page, and in our case, it is by default English. Then we have the head tag, which includes the metadata tag and also the title of the browser, of the page inside the browser. The first metadata tag defines the charset attribute, and we have defined it as UTF-8. UTF-8 is recommended because it nearly contains all the characters and symbols, and the users won't have any problem seeing the page inside their browser. Then we have the compatibility metadata tag, which tells the Internet Explorer browser to use the most recent rendering engine, which is Edge. The next metadata tag is for the viewport, and it sets the width of the screen to be the width of the device. For example, if you have a mobile screen, the width of your browser and the page would be smaller when you are using the bigger screens like desktop and laptop screens. Then you have the initial scale, which is the initial zoom level of the browser, and by default it is set to be 100%. After that, we have the title tag, which defines the title of the page inside the browser. Let's open the browser to see this title. If you have installed the live server extension, you should see a section here on the bottom. If you click on this go live, this is going to open a server on port 5500, and it opens the index.html automatically inside the browser. As you can see, the title of the page is document. Let's bring this one to the right side so we can see the changes in real time. Let's close the Explorer section so we have more space here. Then we can change the title of the page to be, for example, English Dictionary. All right. So now you can see the title is changed to English Dictionary. After that, if you look at the final version, let me draw this. So we have a background here. We have a background. This is all the website, and the container went in the middle. So we have a container here. This is the container. This is just a div with the class of container. Then we have a title. So we have this title here. This is the title. Then we have this input, and then we have some other stuff. So if you, for example, if you write down a word, for example, job, we have the word title after that, and then we have a meaning. So we should have something like, let me see, so we have so we have another div here. It's called meaning container. So all these things goes inside this container, and we're going to hide it. First, someone comes to the website, you cannot see that div. But when you write down something, you search, it appears here. We have the title, we have the meaning, and also if you click here, we can hear the
job
pronunciation of the word. All right, so let's start with the container. So we have a div with a class of container. So we just write down dot container and press enter. So we get a div with a class of container, and inside this container, first we have a h1 tag with a class of heading. The reason we are using the class, we want to style this place, these things later using CSS. Then after creating the header, we just write down English Dictionary. So you can see the title now. It's on the top, but later we're going to use CSS to bring it to the center and style it. For now, we're just creating the HTML part of the place. Then we have the input. The input has the type of text, class of input, and it has the ID of input as well. So the class is for styling, and ID I have chosen to be unique, and so we can target that using JavaScript, and we get all the information inside the input and search for the word inside the API. So I use the ID for that reason. So the input has a placeholder as well. So we just write placeholder, and we just say search a word. So this is the person can see, but when you write down, it's going to be disappeared. Okay, now we have the placeholder, input, the ID class, and also the type is text. After that, we're going to have a paragraph. So if you just come to the website in the final version, you see it has a info text, which is saying type a word and press enter. So we're going to create that one using a paragraph, and the paragraph has the class of info text and also the ID of info. So this one should be info text and ID of info text. If we press enter, we get this one, and the paragraph, the text inside the paragraph is type a word and press enter. All right, so after this paragraph, we're going to have that, we're going to have this container. So there is a container, it's called meaning container, because all the meanings goes here. It has an ID of meaning container as well. So inside this div, we're going to have two paragraphs. One paragraph saying word title, and after this, we're going to have a span. A span is like just like a empty div, but we can style this span separately. For now, we just add some underline, So let's see it inside our website. And this spam has a class of title, and also it has an ID of title. So we're going to style it using this class, and we're going to change its functionality and change inside this spam using JavaScript. So we have the same things for the meaning. So if you look at this one, we have a title and also we have meaning. So we can copy this one using Alt-Shift-Arrow down. And here, instead of word title, we just say meaning. And this class, we can choose both of the title using Ctrl-D. And here we can change it to meaning. All right. And finally, we have that audio, this audio file. So we're going to have, after this paragraph, we're going to have an audio tag, and it has a controls. It means we can see all the controls here. So you can see the audio tag now. Then it has an ID of audio. So we can target that one using JavaScript. So for now, the src is empty. Later, we're going to fill this src using JavaScript dynamically based on the words we have. For example, here we have jobs, so we can see the pronunciation job. If you write down, for example, great, and you can play this great here. So based on the word, we're going to get this src filled. All right. So that was it for the HTML part of the project. In the next section, we're going to style this using CSS. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the HTML part of the project. In this section, we're going to style the project using CSS. The first thing we need to do is to create a CSS file. So inside the VS Code, we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E. And here on the left side in the Explorer section, we create a new file and we call it style.css. We need to add a link to the CSS file in order to use it. So we go back to index.html, and just after the title tag, we add a link tag, and we click on this third auto suggestion, the one with the CSS. Now we have a link tag with the relationship with the HTML file and the CSS file. Here the href is the destination of the link. And as both files are located at the same directory, we just need to have a style.css for the address. Now we're going to start styling the project. So if you look at the index.html, the things we want to target is this classes, the container, the heading. For the input, we have a class of input. For the paragraph, we have info text. Then for this div that is covering the meaning section, we have a meaning container. For the title, we have a class of title, and also for the meaning, we have the class of meaning. So we're going to target them using these classes. The first things we need to do is to style the body section. So just we put our website, and here we target the body section. First things first, we remove the margin, the default margin, and we set it to be 0. So we remove the space between this container and the wall. We refresh the page. Then we want to bring everything to the center. So first thing first, we need to change the display to flex. Then we need to set the height of the screen. So we just say mean height, and we set it to be 100% of the viewport height. So always the size of the height would be 100% of the viewport height. For example, if you have a less zoom or more zoom, you always have the height of 100%. Now we can use justify content center to bring everything to the center horizontally, and align item center to bring everything to the center vertically. The other things I want to do is to change the background color. So I set the background color to be the salmon color, which is FA8072. So we just write SA and we choose this salmon. The other things I want to do, I want to change the font of the texts by using font family, and I set it to be Courier New. So this is the text I would like to use, but you can use any text any font family you prefer for your own project. After the body section, we can now start targeting this container, the main container. As you can see in the final version, it has a glassy background color with the box shadow. So let's style that. So we target that div with the class of container by just saying dot container, and we change the background color, and I use the RGBA. RGBA helps us to have a color with transparency. So R stands for red, G and B is green and blue, and A is alpha, which is transparency. So for the RGB, I use 255, 255, and 255, which gives us the white color. And for the alpha, which is the transparency value, I set it to be 30%. So we get this glassy design. Let's add some padding. So we add some space between the borders and the elements inside the container. And we set it to be 28 pixels. And also I want to make the corners to be rounded. So I use a border radius and I set it to be 7 pixels like this. And the final thing that makes this container beautiful is to use the box shadow. We set the 0 for the x-axis, 10 pixels for the y-axis, 10 pixels for the blurriness, and we use the RGBA to give the black color using 000, and finally 0.3 for 30% transparency, which gives us this beautiful shadow for our container. We also, I want to set the width of this to be 90%. So this one, in the big screen, we have this space, and the small screen, it's almost connected to the wall. We can add more space between them using margin, for example, 10 pixels. So we can see here. And in the big screen, we can limit the width by using max width to be, for example, 450 pixels. So which we can just get this size. Also, we can bring everything to the center using text align center like this. So we centralize everything, and let's set the font size to be 18 pixels. So we have 18 pixels as a default, and also we can set the font weight to be 500 to make it make the text thinner a little bit. All right. So then now the container looks okay, even in the big size and the small size. Let's style this header section here. The H1 has the class of heading. So we write down dot heading, and we set the font size to be 28 pixels like this. Now it's time to style this input. So the input has the class of input. So we just write down dot input. We set the height of the input to be 53 pixels. We set the width to be 300 pixels. So make it bigger. We add a background color. We can use the RGBA. We get this auto suggestion RGBA white color, but instead of 0.3, I want it to be 0.6%. 60% transparency, and also the border color, I use the RGBA, the white color with 0.4% transparency, which gives us this kind of design. And let's style and change the font size to be 16 pixels, and let's add some padding in the 0 pixels for up and down, but 42 pixels for the left and right, so like this. And also I want it to be rounded too, so I just changed the border radius to be 5 pixels as an example, so you can see like that. Okay. I think it looks fine. So now everything looks okay. I just want you to show in the final version, when someone comes to the website, doesn't see that the meaning section. So we want to, by default, remove that section. That section has the class of meaning container. By changing the display to none, we can remove that section. But when we are using JavaScript, we can dynamically bring back that section when we have a meaning in our website. For example, in the final version, when I search for a word, for example, job, and I press enter, I see that meaning container section. But if there's no result, we don't see that section. For example, if you write down something meaningless, for example, a number, we don't see for example, audio section too. So later, using JavaScript, we're going to dynamically show this meaning container section. So that was it for the CSS part of the project. In the next section, we're going to add functionalities to the website using JavaScript. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the CSS section of our project. In this section, we're going to start adding functionality to the project using JavaScript. The first things we need to do is to create the JavaScript file. So we can open the Explorer section using Ctrl+Shift+E. And here we click on this icon to create a new file, and we call it index.js. We need to add a link to the JavaScript file inside the index.html file. So let's close this Explorer section. The script tag that we need to add a link to the JavaScript file should be at the end of the body tag, because we need all the elements of the browser to be loaded, and then we can manipulate them using JavaScript. So we need to add them at the end. So we just say SC, and we click on the second auto suggestion, the one with the src, and the src, which is the destination of the file, is index.js, as both files are located at the same directory. Now we can use the JavaScript in our project. If you look at the final version, whatever we write down here, for example, we just write great, and we get the result here. So first thing first, we need to get everything inside the input. And if you look at the index.html file, the input has an ID of input. So we can bring it inside the JavaScript file using the method called getElementById. So we just say input element. We create a constant, and this is going to be equal to document, because we want to target all the browser, and dot getElementById, and the ID for the input was input. Now we can add an event listener to get everything inside the input. So we just say input element dot add event listener, and the event we want to listen, because we want to, when we type something here and press enter, we want to ask for that word. So because we want to target the enter, the key input enter, we need to add key up. So when whatever key we press, this is going to trigger a function here. So we create a function here, and this function is going to give us the key that is pressed here. We get the event here, and if we console log that e, and we just, for example, e.target.value. So let's open the console using F12. So this is make sure this is console. Now, whatever we write down here, we should see inside the console. So even we press enter, we see an empty things. So we can get the enter as well. So here, if we write down, instead of e.target.value, we just write e.key. We get the key that for example, if we press enter, we get enter. Or if we press on backspace, we see a backspace. All right. So here we add a condition. The first things we want to check is this is not empty. If it's empty, we don't want to call a function. So for being sure, we just say e.target.value should be true. And also we want this person click on the press on enter. So we just say e.key should be equal to enter. Now, if this condition satisfied, we want to call a function. And we call the function, for example, fetch API. And we can pass this e.target.value to that function. So let's create the function here. So the function is called fetch API. And this is going to get that e.target. And we call it just the word, for example, word. And now we can console log here the word that we are getting from the input of the function. So now whatever we type here, for example, I type nice. When I press enter, we get the word nice. And if it's empty here and I press enter, nothing happens because we are preventing someone to submit or request without writing anything here. So let's try it again. For example, I write down job and press enter. We get the job inside the console, which is getting from this function. All right. So instead of console logging, now we want to fetch the data from the API. So the API we want to use, I show you here. If you search for dictionary API, dictionary, in the search result, you just look for a website called dictionaryapi.dev. So you search dictionary API and then you see this result, free dictionary API. So when you click on it, and this is a free dictionary API, even you don't need to have an API key for that. And in order to use it, you just need to have this URL request and you need to add the word you want to see the meaning of it here at the end. For example, here there is an example of the word hello. So if you copy this one and we paste it in the browser, you get the word, you get the pronunciation, for example, the audio file. So if you click on the audio, hello, you can play it. Hello. And in order to see this result, I have an extension and it's called JSON formatter. All right. So you need to install JSON formatter inside Google Chrome as an extension to see the result like this. And the things we want to have is we want to use this word and fill this here, the word title. For the meaning, meaning is here inside the meaning. We just want to get the first meaning. For example, the definition is hello or an equivalent greeting. All right. So we want to get this audio, this word, and the meaning from this API. All right. So we get this URL. I'm just going to copy this URL with the hello. And we go to our website. And here we just create a constant. And we call it URL. And we paste that one. But we want to make it dynamic. So I put it inside the backtick. The backtick is located on the top of the tab key. And you paste it here. And instead of saying hello, we want to have this one dynamic. So we're going to create a dynamic word. We just add a $sign and instead of curly braces, and instead of just saying hello, we just say word. Word which we are getting from here. So any word we get, we can ask for this one. So we have the URL now. Now we can request from the API. So we can have the result. We just create a constant and we call it result. And this is going to be equal to fetch that URL that we have here. And after the fetching, we want to wait for the response. So we just say .then, and that time we get the response. And we want to convert this response to a JSON file. So we just say res.json, and JSON is a JavaScript method. So we need to use it and convert it to JSON. Otherwise, we cannot see that result. So now we can console log that result. So we go to our website and we open the console. Let's refresh the page. The console is empty. For example, I write down here job and I press enter. As you can see, we got the response. And the response is giving us the word job. Here you can see the word is job. The meaning is here. For example, the first meaning for the noun inside the definitions. There are a lot of meaning, but the first one is a task. Okay. So that's the way we get it. So now we delete the console log. The other things I want to do, instead of just quickly get the result, I want to wait for the response. So we want to add await here. I'm going to explain why we are using the await. So we want to this code finish, and then we go to the next line. So that's why we need to wait. Otherwise, if we don't have the await, before getting the result from the API, we go to the next line, and because we want to fill the elements inside the HTML, because we don't have the result yet, we are going to get an error. So we always have to use await when we are fetching data from the API. And when we are using await, we need to change the function from normal function to asynchronous function. Otherwise, you get an error. So let's refresh the page. So it's still getting an error in here. So let's see. Okay, I think the function. Oh, we didn't close the function yet, or maybe I deleted by accident. So we need to close this function. All right. So now we don't get any error. And the other things we need to do when we are fetching a data is to use try and catch a statement. So when you write down try, you get a suggestion, try catch a statement. This one helps you to get the possible errors from the API request. So you need to cut everything and put it inside a try. And if an error happens, this try and catch, it gets the error and show you the error. For example, now I console log the error. So now we are, for example, requesting for job. We don't get an error. But if you, for example, set the network from normal internet to offline, and we go to console again, and now if I click enter, we get an error. Failed to fetch at fetch API. So we got the error here, which is the internet disconnected. All right. So in order to get the errors, it's better to use the try and catch inside for your API request. All right. So let's see inside the final version. Let me open the Explorer section, the web development, and go to network. And we make this one slower using a slow 3G inside the network. Let's refresh this page. Now we have a fakely a slow internet. So just pay attention to here. This one is saying type a word and press enter. Now, for example, if we write down a word, for example, job, let's check this one. When we press enter, we see searching the meaning of the job. And after the result comes, we see the meaning. So while we are waiting for the API, we want to see that text. So if we write down, for example, nice, and we press enter, we see searching the meaning of nice, and we see the results. So when we are waiting for the response, so before asking, we want to see that text here. So that text is actually this one. You see that here we see the type a word and press enter. We want to change this text. This one has an ID of info text. So let's bring this one here at the top. So we create a constant and we call it info text element. And this is going to be equal to document. And we use get element by ID to target that element. And the element is called info-text. Info-text, the ID is this one. So we write down here inside now we have the element. Now, before fetching the data from the API, I want to change this one. I want to change the inner text of this one to say, because this is dynamic, we need to add the backtick. So we just say searching the meaning of that word, that particular word, which is we added inside a double quote, and we put the variable using $, and the variable is word that we are getting from the input of the function. Now, if we go to our website and we go to network and we make it a slow 3G, and now the word is job. When I press enter, So nothing happens here. Let's see. Let's refresh the page and try again. So I just write down job and I press enter. You see that it's searching the meaning of job. All right. So this is working. So after the result comes, I want to remove this section. So after the result comes, I want this info text element dot style dot display. So we set the display of this one to none. So we need to change the style, and now we make it none. So now if we search again, for example, for job, and we press enter, we see the searching the meaning of job. When the result comes, we don't see that section. But if you search for something else, for example, the word great, we don't see that text anymore. So we need to bring it back to the normal display when we are requesting again. So I copy this one and I put it before the request, and I change the display to block here. So now I search for job. So we cannot see it yet. So we need to refresh each time. So I just say job. We see that searching the meaning of job. It's gone. Let's search for something else. For example, great. We see again searching the meaning of great. So that is working. So now we need to show this section, this meaning container. If you remember, we purposefully remove this section. We just say display to none firstly. So we need to change and bring it back here. So I'm going to first we need to bring that element. So that element is called, we call it meaning container element. And this is going to be equal to document dot get element by ID. And the ID for that one was meaning dash container. All right. So now we want to show this section too. So we just say meaning container element dot style dot display, and we set the display to block here as well. Okay, let's try it again inside our website. So we just say hello. For example, we search for hello, searching the meaning of hello, and after that, we need to show this display after the result comes. So I have to put it here actually. All right. Meaning container that style that's display get element meaning container. Let me see that if it's correct. Yeah, this element is meaning dash container. Let me copy this one. So if you have any spelling mistake, would be okay. So now let's try again. Let's refresh the page. Let me just make this one normal internet. So I search for job, and now we see that meaning container. All right. So while we are searching, we want to make it. So we need to copy this one. We need to make hide it while we are waiting for the response. So here I set the display to none at the top. So before and after, we are doing two things. All right. So now we search for job. We see it. If we search again, we should remove it first. So first we remove it and then it comes. Now it's very actually fast. We just search, we set it to be fast 3G. So job, we test the job. All right, it's working now. Nice, it's working. So now we just need to fill this empty answers. For example, the word title, the meaning, and also we need to activate this audio if there is an audio. All right, so we need to bring these elements here. The elements we need is this one, the word title, which has has an ID of title, and also the meaning, which has the ID of meaning. So these two things we need to have. So we just create this first one, the title element, and this is going to be equal to document dot get element by ID, and the ID for that one was title. We just copy this one, and we change the title using Ctrl-D to meaning. So we have the title and the meaning element. So after we get the result here, we just say title element dot inner text is equal to the response we get. You know, if you remember, we got the result, and the result has many arrays. So we want the first result. And also here we want the first meaning, the title, because we want to get the title first. So the title was just a word, all right? So now if we test, if we refresh the page, if we search for job, now the word title is filled with job. Let's do the same things for the meaning. So the meaning element dot inner text is going to be equal to that result. We want the first element of the array. We want the meaning, but we want the first meaning. So the meaning 0, and also we want the definition inside the meaning. So definitions, and we want the first definition. So let's check here for the word job. We got this one, but we didn't get the meaning. So let's see the console. All right, so I think we have some, this one should be meanings, not meaning. So let's try again. We just say job. Are we still getting not the result? Okay, so now after this definition, we just need to add another definition. So I think it's inside another place. So we just right now say job. So now we got the meaning, the correct one, tasks, a task. Or if you search for something else, for example, we just say amazing. We press enter, we get the word title and also the meaning of the word. All right, so now the other things we want to do is just fill this audio file, audio one. So after this definition, let's first bring the audio element. So we create another constant. We call the constant audio element, and this is going to be equal to document dot get element by ID, and the ID is just audio. All right, so now we have the element and we just need to change its src to the one that we get from the API. So we just go here at the end and we just say audio element and we change its src. So we just say dot src, and this is going to be equal to that the result we get, and this is going to be the first array of the result inside phonetics. We just say phonetics, and the first phonetic we want to get, and this is inside something called audio. All right, so now if you search for example, let's change the network from fast 3G to no, just no limits, and we just close this one. If you search for job, now if you click on this file, we should hear the pronunciation of job. And if you change this one, for example, to great
job,
let me see,
job,
yeah, we are still getting the, what happened? Let me refresh the page. We search for great.
great.
Now this is great. Let's search for job.
Job.
And this is job. The problem happens when we type something that doesn't have any meaning. For example, if you type something and if you click, you're still getting the previous result, the job, the task, and it's also
job.
The audio is for the job. So we want to prevent this one here. So if we, for example, go to that API and we paste this one here, for example, this is the hello, all right? We are getting the correct answer. But if you write down something here, something that is not the real word, we get an array, we get an object, just has a title and message, we just say no definition find, all right? So when these things happens, when there is no answer for that, we just we just check if there is a title. For example, we don't want to show the answers and we don't want to see the audio as well. So here we create a condition. So instead of directly doing this one, after the result comes, we create a condition. We just say if there is a result dot title, it means that the word is not correct. Instead of doing these things, we want to just, for example, let's just copy these 3 lines of code, the title, meaning, and the audio. And instead of the result, we just want to make them, for example, an empty things. For example, for the title, I just write down the words you typed. So this is the word we are getting from the input of the function. For the meaning, I just write down not available. We just say n-a. And for audio, we just make it, we don't change it. We just change the display to none. For example, we just say audio element.style.display, and we set the display to none. Otherwise, we want to see the other section. So we just bring everything to this condition. And also, because we set the display of the audio to none, we need to bring it back to the normal before just showing it. So here, we just say audio element dot style dot display. Because we want it to be in the center, instead of block, I just change this one to inline dash flex. Otherwise, it goes to the beginning. So you can test it yourself. So it's similar to block. It's not none. So it's going to be shown, but it's inline flex. All right. So now let's test this one. So well, we just write down something nonsense. So let's refresh this one and try it again. So it doesn't work. So let's try a normal word that's showing the job. Now I just say something here. Okay. Oh, we need to probably set the display back to this container, meaning container. We need to set the display of this one to block as well at the top. So let's try again. So we write down something nonsense. Okay. Now we see that the word title is this one and the meaning is not available and we don't see the audio, but we're still seeing that searching the meaning of this one. So we can remove that one as well by just setting up the display for this one to none here. All right, so let's try again. We just say a working word, job. It's working.
Job.
And then just write down something nonsense. So just say word title is this one, meaning is not available. And let's try again with something correct. Job. It's showing everything correctly. So the other thing is when an error happens, we want to handle the error as well. So when let's open the dev tools again, and then we go to network. So for example, if we are offline and we just search, for example, for the word nice and we press enter, you see we're still searching the meaning of the nice. So we should show the error here instead. So instead of that one, we can just instead of searching the word, we can show something else. For example, I copy this one and we paste it here. And instead of this, we just say an error happened. Try again later. So let's see. So let's bring the internet back. We refresh the page. We search for something. We get the result. Now let's make it offline and we search for something else. For example, nice. So we got an error happens. Try again later. And let's now bring back the internet and we search for example, job. Now it's working correctly. So this is the way you handle the error. So you can just inside the error section, whatever message you want to show, you show here. It's fine. So that is working fine. Let's see what else we can add. Okay, so for your practice, you can just add some, for example, a spinning or like a skeleton effect. But the concept is like this. So you have a request to an API here using await. And before the await, you create the things you want to see when you are waiting for the response. And after that, when the response comes, you want to add the things you want the things that you want to happen after the response comes. And if an error happens, you can handle the error here. So that was it for our project. I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. This is in this project, you have learned the concept like try and catch, how to fetch the API, how to handle the errors, and how to handle different situations when you get different results inside from your API. And also you have learned how to add an event listener for listening to your keyboards, like pressing enter or other things. So I hope you enjoyed and learned many things. See you in the next project.